live on the air. I'm Richard Saile.
This is wild.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Lounge Time 2026 Offseason Grades. I'm your host, Rich Saile, and today we are going over the Chicago Bears, our third team in the NFC North we have covered so far in this series. Without further ado, let's get into what did the Bears do this offseason. Made a couple of trades, trading DJ Moore to the Buffalo Bills for an additional draft pick, second round pick they got. They got Garrett Bradbury from the Patriots because Drew Dahlman retired at center. So two trades that the Bears did this offseason to improve their roster. They're going with the younger receivers they have on the depth chart. Luther Burden, Rome Odunze. And then we'll get down to the roster a little bit later with the depth chart specifically. But decent draft class. Good first half of the draft for them. And then the second half of the draft, that's where I'll let the guys that say, okay, this guy's a gem, I'll let them figure that out. But solid guys that could fit the roster depth-wise, and depends on who has a breakout season for those guys trying to make roster spots. But let's get to their free agency, which they did cut linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. That was back when Matt Eberflus, the previous head coach, was there, so they got rid of one of the guys from that spending spree back in 2022, 23. They did get Kobe Bryant from, not Seattle. No, Seattle's Kobe Bryant, which is a good piece in the secondary for them that will help, especially a unit that got better as the season went on at times. Not consistently, but the Niners game, evidently, they looked horrible, where they couldn't get a stop. That was a game where both offenses just tried to outdo one another. We talked about that last season on that episode. But Kobe Bryant's a good piece for a secondary group that also lost Kevin Byard, which we'll get into who they replaced him with in the draft. Devin Bush at linebacker. Good inside signal caller. I would say that's a good piece for them. They needed some linebacker help. Devin Bush is a guy that has some traits that fit very well within a Dennis Allen scheme. Neville Gallimore, I remember he was in Dallas as a rotational piece, sometimes a starter, and nothing really flashed. Khalif Raymond was in Detroit, so Ben Johnson knows him. Jedrick Willis from Cleveland, I remember. That's a good piece, possibly as a starting left tackle. That's something I'm going to talk a little bit more as we get into the depth chart as well. But let's get into their draft class, because their draft was, I would say, not as bad as some people thought it was. And let's get into that a little bit. So Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Oregon, who they took late in round one. This was a great pick considering where they were picking. Because when his combine measurements and traits came out, I was going, he might go higher than people thought he would go. Now, I know safeties don't go really early unless you're transcendent, like a Ed Reed, a Sean Taylor. Caleb Downs is a perfect example when we get to the Cowboys. Dylan Thieneman is a very good player from Oregon. Very good player. He can play deep safety. He can play in the box as a good tackling safety. He can play man. He could play zone. He is very good. And he's a smart player. This is a great pick what they got in round one. considering where they were picked and where he was projected to go in the mocks. I remember when we did the mock draft episode. This is a very good pick for Chicago because he's a do-it-all safety that he can pick interceptions off, but not at a high clip. But he's a good safety that I really like as somebody that will take away a third of the field, half of the field in the box to tackle. He does all the things you want a safety to do. And he's got good speed, 4.2 speed, 4.3 speed. That works. No, actually not 4.2 speed. 4.3, 4.4 speed. Very good speed for a safety. Yeah, 4.4 speed. You can look up his combine tape. I'm not going to get into it too much. Logan Jones, a center from Iowa, so they got long-term insurance policy at center because Garrett Bradbury, they're looking at maybe just this year particularly and then developing Logan Jones into being the starter. That is a good pick. I believe that's the pick that they got. No, that was the... Did they got a third for DJ Moore? I thought it was a 2, but either way, I know it was a second or third round pick. It was a day 2 pick for DJ Moore. But Logan Jones will be the starting center down the road in case Garrett Bradbury is retiring beyond next year. That's a good insurance policy to have down the road in case he develops into the player they like. Sam Roush from Stanford. This is a very good pick because Ben Johnson loves those tight ends. Cole Kmet's been in the league a little while now. Colston Loveland broke out for them late last year, and I think he's going to be a guy that will develop into Caleb Williams' number 1 target this year. And now you have Sam Roush, who's a very good blocker, good route runner with good hands. This is a good, very good pick. You're going to see Chicago in some 3 tight end formation, I would say a good amount going into 2026. But now you got 3 solid tight ends with the 2 receivers they have that are young guys, Odunze and Luther Burden. I like what they're doing, and it also might signal that Ben Johnson is going to start run first and then open it up more for Caleb Williams. And those tight ends, Roush that can block and catch, it's a good sign for Chicago's multiple versatility formations that Ben Johnson could have in 2026. And then you go down the later rounds, Xavier Thomas from LSU. I remember a couple of games at LSU early in the year. I remember Anderson. Xavier Thomas, I thought it wasn't Clemson that he jumped out. There were games, I know they had Barry and Brown, Aaron Anderson that I know jumped out when I watched him. Those guys I remember. Xavier Thomas is good. He actually could get playing time. Where I would say is, does he play meaningful snaps this year? Maybe. As a 4th or 5th receiver, maybe. I wouldn't expect much. Malik Muhammad's a good pick of a corner. They need some depth there, and he could be a guy that might be in some dime situations at corner. And then Keyshawn Elliott from Arizona State. That's a good pick at linebacker. Have those guys that can be there for depth in case someone gets injured. That's good. And then Jordan Vandenberg from Georgia Tech, the defensive tackle. Always good to get deep in the front 7. So that's a good pick for them as well. So let's get into the Bears depth chart, which offensively I'm not going to spend too much time on. I'm confident that you are going to see Chicago still be that run-heavy team with Ben Johnson because they have 2 backs that are going to be getting a lot of the carries. DeAndre Swift's still there. Kyle Monangai had games where he was very solid. I expect those 2 guys to have solid production once again for the Bears is when they run the ball a lot. And Ben Johnson established the run last season a good amount to help alleviate the toll on Caleb Williams as far as what they were asking him to do, where they are not expecting him to throw 40 times a game yet. The balance is important, as what he had in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams. But Jared Goff was an established quarterback. So there was the difference as far as how quickly they extended. Now, Caleb Williams, this is year 2 of the Caleb Williams-Ben Johnson marriage. So I think you're going to see more of a pass attempts go up, but they're still going to run with Monangai and Swift. especially with the 3 tight ends I mentioned earlier, with Colson Loveland, Cole Kmet, Sam Roush, that's a very good possibility that they will get the tight ends heavily involved in this offense more, and they will run the ball with those tight ends that can block and catch as well. The receiver group is not bad. You've got Burden and Odunze that stand out compared to the rest of them. Khalif Raymond's a guy that knows the system, more of a kick returner. Is he a number 3? I don't know. Xavier Thomas could have a breakout if he continues to win playing time. Like I said, I would expect him to be more the 4th, 5th receiver on the depth chart. Scotty Miller, I just know him from Tampa and a couple of other places where he's a speedster. Not really a crazy route runner, but he's the guy that if you throw a go ball and if he can get by his man, he can make some big plays here and there. Jade Walker, these guys, the rest down the pipeline. This is guys that are now just trying to earn snaps. So, not as strong of a receiver group as last year, but with this offense, you'll see a different identity. More tight ends involved, still running the ball, and then Odunze, Burden, those guys, if they can get in the middle of the field open, that's where you'll see them get going. I do think this is going to be a running, heavy tight end usage offense, similar to what Sean McVay did when he ran 13 personnel, 1 back, 3 tight ends, for those of you that don't know what 13 personnel is. Now, this offensive line, okay. I like this unit. Initially, I was going to say this was maybe the weakest on the offense. It's not. I actually think the receiver group is a little weaker than the offensive line now looking when I was putting my notes together for this. Everything but left tackle, I feel the Bears are solid up front. I just don't know if Braxton Jones is a starting caliber left tackle in this league compared to Jedrick Willis, and Ozzie Trapilo is who they have ahead of Jedrick Willis. I don't know why. ESPN's depth chart must be whacking right now. But if Jedrick Willis Jr. starts, assuming he's healthy, this offensive line is going to be good again. It's going to be good again. And the key for the Bears will be, does Caleb Williams make the jump from a top 15-ish quarterback to top 10? Which, the talent is there. He could be a top 10 quarterback on talent alone. And he had really clutch moments late last year. Packers twice, and the throw on the Rams to send it to overtime. Where Caleb Williams needs to work on is the volume of turnovers. And that's where I want to see this year if the efficiency, Ben Johnson will be able to duplicate that from the Detroit days, which he did do better last year. But can we see a jump in that, where Caleb's turnovers go down and their scoring goes up? I want to see that this year. And it's a different makeup of how their offense will be. But I don't worry about their offense. Maybe left tackle if Jedrick Willis Jr. isn't starting. That would be my one concern. And the receiver group is just not as deep. This is still a very good offense that I expect will be in the top 10 of the league. Definitely a top 10 caliber offense. Definitely top half of the league, top third of the league in offense. No worries there. Top 10 scoring, don't worry about that. They're going to be fine. Defensively, this is the move to me where there's one piece to me that puts the Bears right there with the Rams in Seattle as NFC heavyweights. Why do I say this? Their edge group is just not there right now. Montez Sweat's good. He's not a guy that you go into a game going, we can't let him wreck the game. Now, I know they weren't going to get Myles Garrett, but I'm saying somebody like a Max Crosby would have helped them, a Trey Hendrickson would have helped them, because that's what the Bears defense is missing. And Dennis Allen doesn't like to blitz too much. He'll blitz occasionally, not at a high rate compared to Brian Flores, of course. But Dennis Allen likes to trust 4 guys to get after the quarterback. I don't think the front 4 is good enough for Chicago to get to an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl. let's just say this. They're not good enough to get to the Super Bowl in my eyes, as far as the front seven is concerned. I actually think their back end is better and their linebacking group is solid enough where they can get it done. I think they need the one game wrecker where offensive lines have to key on him from not disrupting the game. Because if they had that, I would put the Bears with the Rams, Seattle. I would put them right there. I don't think they have that. And that's where and I know Dennis Allen wants to rush 4 guys. Grady Jarrett, he has not been the Falcons. Grady Jarrett, he's been solid, but he is not, his production's dipped since he went to Chicago. Gervon Dexter Sr., he's a good player that showed some jumps, which was good. I'm going to try to pronounce this name, guys. Odeyingbu. I hope I said that right. Austin Booker. These guys they're solid players. But they're not guys where you lose sleep at night going, oh man, this is the piece that could put them to the Super Bowl. No, it's not there. Devin Bush, TJ Edwards, DeMarco Jackson. I like this group at linebacker. I do. I even like that Jack Sanborn, Noah Sewell as backups for linebacker is good. I talked about Keyshawn Elliott from Arizona State. I think the linebacker group is solid. They really have some guys that solid veterans that have made plays and been productive players elsewhere. Don't get me wrong, there's flaws with certain players. Like Devin Bush had some moments in Pittsburgh where he had some plays that he messed up on, but everybody has those. And he's good, but obviously not terrible, obviously not elite. But it's a good group of linebackers that can get the job done, certainly. Their secondary is their strength to me. Jalen Johnson is a established top 10 corner in the league that can take away number 1 receiver. Thieneman, I talked about earlier. Kobe Bryant is coming over from Seattle, won the Super Bowl. He's a guy that I could see playing safety, corner. Now, Kyler Gordon had nicked up a little bit as I was recording this. And Malik Muhammad you got in the 3rd, 4th round. Josh Blackwell, they'll be fighting for some snaps. Jalen Jones. Like, this is not a bad secondary group. I didn't even mention Tyreek Stevenson, who he's their opposite corner, but they got a good group that, to me, is their strength in the defense. And yes, when you rush 4, you're relying a lot on your back end. Sometimes, though, when that front 4 isn't getting to the quarterback, the really good offenses, the really good quarterbacks will pick apart secondaries that are good, and they can diagnose what coverage you're in. And that's where, to me, yes, the secondary is strong. I just don't know if you can rely so much on the front 4, which is not their strong suit, it's their weakest part of the defense, to rely so much on this back end. It's not a top 5 secondary where you can go, okay, we can trust them to hold up. That front 4, to me, isn't strong enough to help the Bears get to a Super Bowl right now this year. So let's get to what I think the Bears, to me, is my biggest concern. I think they are a candidate to possibly be a first to last type of candidate because of the division and how the Lions will be better under Campbell this year with their new offensive coordinator. We talked about that in the Lions episode. Green Bay always has ways where they beat the Bears 1 game, sometimes twice. Last year, they split where Chicago got the edge in the playoff when they met. I'm talking regular season and then the Bears postseason win. So, and then Minnesota happens to sneak games in that you least expect. I'll save it for the Vikings because I just finished grading them and I want to save it for that episode. But overall, the division is tough. And they play a first place schedule where the AFC East they're playing this year, and you play first place in the interconference thing, which Jacksonville is that team. I looked at their schedule just before I was recording, and I'll get to the schedule in just a moment. So with that becomes, how do you manage expectations? Is this team good enough to get back to the playoffs, get back to the divisional, possibly make an NFC Championship game? Yes. Offense alone, they can score, they can improve. The different ways Ben Johnson will use his personnel, yes. Defensively, yes, they did a very good job on Matthew Stafford in the divisional round game, But Dennis Allen is one of the elite defensive coordinators in football. Yes. But they are a piece away from being at the top with the Rams. Seattle is right there because they just won it. You have to put Seattle there. If we're going on better rosters than them, I would throw the Eagles up there on pure roster alone. I would say the Eagles from a roster standpoint are better. Now, as a team, collectively with talent, I don't know. Lions, that's going to be a split this year. I'm telling you right now, with the schedule, that will be a split. Okay? But let's get to the schedule where I will give the record prediction, and I will see where I have them going. So, week 1 at Carolina. Close win. Don't sleep on Carolina. Game 1. This will be a tougher game than most people say it is because Carolina improved on defense. We'll save that for that episode. Close win over Carolina. Home for the Vikings on the following week. So that's a win. Home for the Eagles on a Monday night. I'm going to say they beat Philly because Philly on the road early. That's where you want that home game. And they play the Rams that next week. I say the Bears get the Eagles. They're going to start 3-0. The Jets, 4-0. At Green Bay, 4-25. This is the first loss. Green Bay will get the split. They'll win in Lambeau, but the Bears will win in Soldier Field later in the year, which is what I expect. In Atlanta, okay, now, I've said this. There are games where people go, what the fuck? How did you lose that game? This is one of those games. Ask the Rams, ask Buffalo what happened when they went into Atlanta. Weird fucking stuff happens in Atlanta. I don't know what, but these good teams look vulnerable in a dome, which is odd because you would never expect them to lose to Atlanta, who you think, oh, the Rams and Bills are inferior. They should win. Nope. That's where I think the Bears get upset in Atlanta. 4-2, they drop 2 straight. They get back right in a short week against New England. I'm telling you, as a New England fan, I will count that as a loss for my team because I'm not delusional. At Seattle, here we go of the classic case of how did you win that game winning-wise? It always happens. This could be a loss, and I can see it being a loss, but I picked Chicago to beat Seattle when I did Seattle's episode. And I might have to flip that because I don't know if I really truly believe that, but I'm trying to look for wins where somebody could upset Seattle. But I don't know if I could do it. I'm going to say they lose at Seattle. I'm going to say they lose. And again, I know I had Seattle losing at home to the Bears because I was trying to go for an approximate. I'm not giving definitive records yet, but I'm going to say what it is. I think they will end up losing at Seattle, but for the sake of the show, yeah, I'm going to say they lose at Seattle, and I'm going to probably change Seattle to beating them at home. Home for Tampa, they win. So we have 3 losses right now for the Bears. That would set them at 6-3 going into the bye week. Good. Home for the Saints in November, win. At the Lions, loss, 7-4. Home for Jacksonville, win. At Miami, win. At Buffalo, loss. Home for Green Bay, that's where I'll give them the win. I'll give them a win against Detroit. And then they lose at Minnesota. Why? Because Minnesota's going to sneak up on them with a win. And Minnesota's playing probably for nothing because they're not going to be a playoff team. Let's put it that way. So I have losses to Detroit, Buffalo, and Minnesota. So I'm going to put the Bears sitting at 11-6. I do believe it will be them and the Lions for the NFC North. And it will come down to week 17 at home against the Lions for the division. And then the Lions in Green Bay will be that tiebreaker for who wins that division. I have to put all the records together when I do the preseason episode, but I believe it will be down to the Bears or Lions winning the North because I have them at very similar records. Maybe I'm leaning the Lions to win the division just to be different. So let's go to the grade. I'm going to go with a B for Chicago. Not a terrible offseason. Not a great offseason. Good enough where they got some good depth pieces. Secondary improved. Love the Thieneman pick. They did trade DJ Moore away, though, which hurts their depth at receiver. Offensive line-wise, if Jedrick Willis is healthy, Love that at left tackle. This is going to be a team that will be good, that will be playoff level good, but they're not the NFC elite like the Rams and Seahawks right now, if I'm judging everything together. So I'm landing at a B. So, and I feel like that's fair. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you guys can get all the latest content on Lounge Time. We are nearing 50 subscribers. We are 6 away. Help us get there because that is the goal for 2026 for me. I'm 6 subscribers away. We are so close. You don't want to miss it too because we will have the preseason episode late August where I will give my Super Bowl pick and my playoff teams. You don't want to miss out on that. Late August, more content will be on the way. You can also hit at Lounge Time Pod on X. You can follow me there. Yes, I will tweet when we have NFL preseason going, specifically New England when I watch, and if I'm able to watch the game live. But I will be tweeting for the NFL season, no question about it. If you have a question for the show, feel free to tweet at me and I will answer it on the show. Do not worry. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Lounge Time. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next episode of 2026 Offseason Grades.